One of the funniest and most interesting facts in movie history happened on the set of this movie. An intruder robbed a store and was fleeing with the loot through the streets of the city. Suddenly he ran into a film crew. Seeing a bunch of police officers, he preferred to immediately surrender. What was his surprise when it turned out that all the police are actually simple extras on the set of the movie. For the role of Matilda tried out 2,000 candidates. Natalie Portman tried out for the role but was rejected due to her too young age. But the indefatigable girl after some time again broke through to the auditions and gave such a performance that Luc Besson no longer for a second did not doubt the talent of the actress and took her on the role of Matilda, staying and getting to the second wave of trials she received from Besson tasks.
Imagine your whole family is murdered, but you only feel sorry for your little brother.
Did not believe that the girl will play convincingly, because she grew up alone in a family without brothers and sisters. But Natalie immediately cried for the truth and very dramatically, so she was immediately approved. But the parents of 10-year-old Natalie Portman were adamantly opposed to auditioning their daughter for the role. Because the movie is far from childish, but little Natalie was fascinated by the script and literally fought for her first job. In the heat of the argument, she once told her parents,
"That's the greatest thing I've ever read. You will ruin my life if you say no."
Liv Tyler was considered for the same role, but she was deemed too old to play it. The potted plant that the main characters carry around with them all the time is called aglaonema in English, pronounced aglaonema. According to Patrice Ledoux, Luc Besson planned Léon as something extra in his life. At the time he had already started working on the movie The Fifth Element, but filming was delayed due to the schedule of Bruce Willis. Instead of disbanding the crew and losing creative momentum, Besson wrote Léon, who took only 30 days to write the script and only 90 days to shoot. Luc Besson got the idea to film Léon at a time while he was working on his previous film Nikita. In the third act of the same film, Victor janitor Jean Reno deals with the consequences of a failed mission Nikita. Besson saw the unrealized potential of this character and decided to create a separate story on this basis. And Victor and Léon show up dressed in long wool coats, dark glasses, and knit hats. According to Luc Besson, the role of Léon was always intended for Jean Reno and no one else. At the same time, Mel Gibson and Keanu Reeves were extremely interested in the role. According to Jean Reno, he decided to play Léon a bit mentally retarded and emotionally distressed. The actor felt that in this case the audience would not be nervous about him of taking advantage of a defenseless little girl's trust for his own gain. Among the most spectacular action scenes is the final explosion of a building. The episode was filmed in a real house in Harlem, Spain, and the inhabitants were evacuated from the neighborhood. A total of 6 cameras were used to shoot this scene. Another impressive moment was when a rocket was fired into Léon's room to capture the flight of the projectile along the length of the floor was monorail, on which the camera was attached. When the rocket was launched with the help of compressed air, the camera accompanied its movement, while the rocket itself was suspended on a wire painted in the tone of the scenery so that it was not conspicuously. In the first version of the script, the ending was supposed to be more grim. According to the plan, Léon is killed by Stansfield's bullets. Matilda comes back and shows the same trick with the ring, showing that she is girded with grenades. In this case, 2 heroes of the picture would die. Besson abandoned the idea almost immediately, not wanting to turn a little girl into an uncontrollable monster. In the movie, French actor Sami Naceri appears in the tiny role of a special forces officer. He spent on the site only 10 days, but so impressed Luc Besson that the director wrote the script cab specifically for the actor. During the scene when Stansfield Gary Oldman interrogates Matilda's father Michael Badalucco, Oldman sniffs him and physically gets very close to him. According to Badalucco, he had no idea that Oldman was going to sniff him and that he was going to get as close as he did. Badalucco said that in the movie his embarrassment and discomfort during that particular scene is completely genuine. Keith Glasgow, who played Benny, one of the Stansfield's handmaidens, later joined the New York City Fire Department and worked the Ladder 21 crew at Hell's Kitchen in Manhattan. He died in the line of duty when the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center collapsed on September 11, 2001. All the scenes in Léon's apartment were filmed in Paris, and the corridor scene 6 weeks earlier in New York. the second shot, a long panning camera shot moving down a New York street, could only be done after a careful study of the workings traffic lights, so that the cameraman's car could catch the green wave. According to actress Maïwenn Lebesco, the movie is partially based on her affair with director Luc Besson. Lebesco, who plays a prostitute in the opening scene, and Besson were engaged at the time of filming. They met when the actress was 11, and at 15 she fell in love with him. Besson was 32. For the final credits of the movie, composer Eric Serra wrote a composition for the ending of the movie, but instead decided to use Sting's song Shape of My Heart. Serra then decided to use his soundtrack in the closing credits of his next project Goldeneye, with the main melody of the song can be heard during the course of this movie. There were rumors that Luc Besson had written a sequel script with Olivier Megaton in the director's chair and Natalie Portman as a grown-up Matilda. Shooting was constantly delayed while waiting for Portman to reach the right age. Meanwhile, Besson left the company Gaumont to set up his own movie studio Europa Corp, and executives were unhappy with Besson's departure. Gaumont refused to give him the rights to Léon. According to Megaton, a sequel is unlikely to materialize. Besson used the sequel idea to create Colombiana. The original script contained scenes of awkward sexual tension between Matilda and Léon, including scenes in which both characters lie on the bed and Matilda talks about sex. These scenes were not included in the American version of the film, but were present in the European version. Natalie Portman's parents were very concerned about the smoking scenes in the movie, and before giving their consent to shoot their daughter, they drew up a contract together with Luc Besson in which they clearly spelled out the restrictions regarding the portrayal of tobacco products in the movie. The movie had to contain only 5 smoking scenes. It was forbidden to show Natalie Portman inhaling or exhaling smoke, and Matilda had to quit smoking during the course of the story. Natalie Portman recalls that at first she had trouble crying on command. For her first emotional scene, when Matilda sees her entire family murdered and goes to Léon's door for help, she couldn't get the tears out of her eyes. Luc Besson solved the problem by having a crew member spray her eyes with peppermint oil spray. The pain was so bad that Portman instantly learned to shed tears on command just to avoid another of the oil treatment. In the full version of the movie, Luc Besson made a cameo appearance as a bandit who opened fire on Léon and Mathilde through the apartment door, whom Léon kills with a grenade. The scene in which Stansfield tells Mathilde's father about his love for Ludwig van Beethoven was completely improvised. The scene was filmed several times, and in each take Gary Oldman came up with a new story. Oldman's next movie will be Immortal Beloved, in which he will play the role of this composer, according to Gary Oldman, who decided to yell out the iconic phrase "Bring me everybody" to make Luc Besson laugh.
Bring me everyone. What do you mean everyone?
Previous takes of the phrase "bring me everybody," I was doing it in a normal voice, but then I signaled the sound guy to take off the headphones and yell as hard as I could take, and it made it into the movie.
And the confrontation scene at Tony's restaurant, we learn that the corrupt DEA agent Stansfield was ordering his clients through Tony's mobster. Léon was Tony's top hitman and his clients were mostly drug dealers, so it's very likely that through Tony, Léon was unwittingly doing a job for Stansfield. Many critics agree that the choker around Matilda's neck indicates her willingness to take tough adult measures in certain situations. When she takes it off, the character becomes the defenseless, capricious child she never had time to be. Stansfield tells Matilda's father that he will be back at noon. In Léon's apartment, the clock wall reads 11:58. The scene that follows takes exactly 2 minutes, and Stansfield and his men return exactly at noon. Luc Besson forbade Jean Reno and Natalie Portman rehearse the scene in which Mathilde wears a dress given to her by Léon. As a result, in a scene filmed impromptu, managed to capture the sincere awkwardness of the actors. When Mathilde leaves to get milk, Léon arranges for her to knock a secret knock 2 times, then 1 time, and then 2 again. 212 is the area code of Manhattan where the plot of the movie unfolds. Léon, like most of Besson's movies, is a drama with action, with explosions and gunfire playing as much a part as conflict between the characters. Suffice it to say that the movie used nearly 50 types of firearms and about 24 stuntmen and stunt doubles. The film that Léon watches in the cinema, It's Always Fair Weather, with Gene Kelly in the title role. The full version of the film has timing 136 minutes. When the discs came out with extended version of the film, fans Besson rushed to buy them, but experienced slight disappointment at 25 minutes not included in the classic version. There is nothing fundamental changing our idea of heroes. Matilda helps Léon in his work and tries unsuccessfully to seduce him. Something terrible happens every time when Matilda goes to buy milk. Drug in yellow-green capsules which take Stansfield, called Librium. It has the generic name chlordiazepoxide, and belongs to the class of psychoactive substances benzodiazepines. Matilda and Danny call Léon cleaner. On the shop window next to Léon's entrance displays all sorts of cleaning products: Brill, dishwashing sponges, bleach, Ajax powder and soap. In the final scene, Matilda carries her favorite Léon plant into the open field behind the girls' school, thinking it would grow roots and will become a living symbol of his memory. She does not know that this is a specific plant, tropical variety called Chinese evergreen, and it can't survive in a cold open climate and will die in the first winter frosts. New York Times critic Janet Maslin noted this in her review of '94 year and called it the ending of misguided poetry. Throughout the film, Stansfield wears only a beige suit and his white shirt. Jean Reno's phrase "pigs better than people" tribute to Hayao Miyazaki in the role of Porco Rosso. If you didn't know the full name of the main character hero Léon Montana, Léon is debut full-length film by Natalie Portman. When she was cast in the role she was 11 years old. Natalie Portman later stated that the scene in which she dressed up as Marilyn Monroe was inspired by a scene she saw in the movie Wayne's World. She admitted that while Léon was filmed I've actually never watched a movie since Monroe in the title role. And by the way, here's an excerpt from an alternative final picture. Slow motion. Matilda appears wearing a large cloak. Leona has a pistol with a silencer in her hand. Her face is cruel and motionless. They saw her like this. At the entrance to the buildings there are two cops who look at her in amazement. This is the last facial expression in their lives. She enters the corridor. At the end of it, Stansfield laughs along with her colleagues. Matilda walks until she sees a white sheet on the floor. She crouches and lifts one end. Leon's blood is everywhere, but the expression on his face is cute, relaxed. Matilda strokes his cheek. Someone knocks on Stansfield's back. The group struggles and sees a girl sitting near a corpse. Matilda kisses Léon and gets up. Her gun remains lying on the floor. She looks at Stansfield straight into his eyes and wide smiles. Stansfield doesn't understand what happens. Matilda takes her hand out of pocket and throws something to him. Stansfield catches it. The item is a metal ring. Stansfield understands less and less that now happens. Matilda opens her cloak. Inside there is a bundle of a dozen pomegranate. One is missing a ring. Now Stansfield understands everything. Powerful, all-encompassing, absolute explosion. Shock. The wave knocks over everyone standing on the street. Thousands are still in slow motion. Debris falls to the ground. It seems to rain, even sadder than usual. Léon Gaumont, a famous French inventor, made a direct contribution to the development cinema along with the Lumiere brothers. In his honor was named French film company Gaumont, which released this movie. It was impossible to say in advance whether the film will receive positive criticism, but on the set it is sacred believed, and as it turned out, not in vain. On today, 27 years later premiere, the film takes 31 first place in the list of 250 best films according to version IMDb.